We're live.
Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Tesla to Mars. A little bit later than usual, but of course, we needed to take a close look at the earnings, which I completely missed because I need to pick up my dad from the airport and do some sightseeing in San Francisco. Take a Waymo with my dad, of course, and show him FSD. So he's blown away already, and we did 6 hours straight of FSD afterwards. So he's slowly starting to become a believer as well. But there's lots to discuss, and I think Damian and Kenny paid close attention. So let's kick it off.
Yeah, I think we did. So we did have some time before the podcast started to already touch on some points. So starting with the financials, Damian, if I may, I think those are the worst. So then that's
Sure.
behind.
Do you want
Um,
the good news or the bad news? Let's start with the bad news,
always
right?
always start with the bad news. Yeah. So the bad news is that profits were down, revenue is down, and everything is down year on year. So also the revenue was down with 12%, which is quite steep. But also on the operating margin level, we're very low. So it's the lowest operating margin percentage wise
And and
ever.
do we have any figures?
Yeah, it's
What was the figure?
4.1%. So the operating income is
Oof.
only 900 million. And the net income was also down with 16%. So that was 1.4 billion. Um,
And what's the main driver for that like lower figure?
if you give me 5 minutes, then maybe I can inform you a little bit. So, yeah.
Ah,
So
perfect. Okay.
I think in general the most most, let's say, pressing downward is the lack of revenues, but also the credits. So the ZEV credits were down
Yeah.
50%. That's 500 billion year on year. So also there's coming a lot of pressure from. Then I think on the sales and general expenses, they're quite flat, let's say. But the R&D was also up with 600 million compared to last year. So that's also a lot of investments that they make currently in AI, which are also expensed. And that was also touched upon in the earnings call by the CFO. Um, on the other end, if there's any light points, yes, there are. So I think the energy business did again. They hit a record gross profit of 846 million. So they're actually now, let's say,
Perfect.
matter. So that's good. And the revenue for energy, it rose sequentially with 176%, mainly driven by Powerwall, Megapack, and also supercharger growth. So that's up with to 3 billion. So that's very good, and they're still doubling down on energy. Elon also mentioned some things about it. Maybe Damian, who's a little bit stronger in the visions and all the underlyings there, might give some input there as well. But in general, from a numbers perspective, it's really bad. Was as expected, so even a little bit above analysts' expectations, with a 30 cents dollar earnings per share. But obviously, a very bad quarter. And the thing I'm thinking and looking back in my notes is that we already had a couple of podcasts where the Q numbers were really bad, and every time we think we hit bottom. But Elon mentioned that the next couple of quarters will be rough as well. So I think next 3 to 9 months will still be very rough. But there are some
Hey, and Kenny,
underlyings which are going to.
are we seeing some movements pre-market already in the
It's already
stock
open. Okay,
price?
so it's now down 9%.
Oof.
Yeah, well, to be honest, like considering all the numbers we have, I think a normal stock which has a PE of what is it, 150, I think would be down 20, maybe 30%. So I think we're still.
Yeah, but you forget that Kees is road tripping right now and already living off his future profit. So he's a bit probably anxious that he needs to come home a little bit earlier.
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
Well, that hurts. But so those are the, I would say, the bad things out of the call. Damian, maybe you can give some highlights on the other stuff. So the AI, robotics, and FSD.
Yeah, before we get into that, I think a couple of sort of big takeaways. let's say my key big takeaways are that automotive is struggling, not only in total sales, but also if you break it down in, let's say, um, Model 3, Model Y, S and X, right? So SX and Cybertruck. So Cybertruck and the, let's say, premium segment of Tesla, which were also always good margin drivers, have very difficulty to hit their numbers. For Cybertruck, that's also a bit surprising because when the product was launched, the demand was off the charts. And if you also look at search demand on Google, Cybertruck is still sort of growing. So it really also seems affordability a question there, and they put it down that bracket, so it's more affordable right now, but still for many people still a unaffordable car. So Cybertruck cannot live up to its, let's say, promise. Maybe I will say between lines yet, because we need to see if they can get to that lower price, because that is going to be very important to become the number one, let's say, truck in their segment. They're now, of course, the number one EV
Yeah.
truck in their segment, but they're not anywhere close to sort of that overall category that they're targeting. With Model
No,
Y,
and they're trying to get a lower, cheaper model out there, right? But
yeah.
still, would that help out a lot, Damien? I don't
Well, if
think
you
that
look at
really.
if you look at search volumes, search volumes are still very high for the Cybertruck. So that implies that people are, looking up information about this thing. So yeah, that
Yeah,
search trend is still growing, especially sort of year over year. But to right now, the Cybertruck has been a lifestyle vehicle for people that could afford it, right? While the original premise of this product is to become like a workhorse pickup truck, to target that segment, let's say, of the Ford F-150. That's the original target market, and the Silverado of, I think, GM, right? So those
yeah,
are the original markets that Tesla is aiming for. But in order to get there, they need to be more affordable, and that's a sort of question that is difficult to answer right now, because the good thing is that the whole discussion right now, also in the earnings call, is about FSD, robotaxi, cybercaps, etc. As yeah,
Optimus.
as expected. But the bad thing there is that there's so much underlying things that could um, cause Tesla to grow, also in automotive, that is not being discussed right now, or let's say not enough. And
What
that
do you mean? Is that the smaller model or?
Yeah, there are many levers there that can be used, but I think for everybody's assumption, let's say if we say, okay, let's go back 2 years, and then do some assumptions on the Cybertruck, then everybody would be very disappointing in sort of the Cybertruck. And I wouldn't say Cybertruck would be a sort of core driver for the business, but if you have like these successes being added on, that could cause for growth in your company, right? So Tesla now year over year has not been able to grow, and I've been thinking a lot this morning about what could be drivers for Tesla to start growing again, and I'm actually very optimistic about how they can achieve that. But now the whole sentiment is just shifted towards, let's say, all eyes on FSD and robotaxi cybercabs, and that's also what Elon has been communicating, right? So that is where Tesla's eyes were on that. So the bigger thing is that automotive is not growing. Second is that energy is becoming more and more important of the current P&L and the P&L of the next year for Tesla. And the third one is that the initiatives, that they're still very optimistic about FSD robotaxis and Optimus, although they are very cautious for the rollout of robotaxis, of course, because it's also a safety matter. So, love to hear your recent experience of 6 hour drives later on in this call case. Um, but yeah, I think if you look where Tesla's at currently, if you compare 2 years from 2 years ago, I remember very vividly, Kenny, that we were visiting the Tesla showrooms to spot the latest Model 3. And we were both very impressed about, the sort of Model 3, what was it, takeover or sort of new improvements that has been made. And recently also the Model Y has been revamped. And everybody you talk to that owns the Model Y, even people that are for let's say hardcore Porsche fans, or everybody says this is the best dollar for dollar car that is available on the market. Period. Right. So in the meanwhile, the cars, so the best sellers of Tesla, Model 3, Model Y, has been improved significantly. The Cybertruck has been now in production and in volume. And so those are the two main things. And also the Model S and Model X has been improved and also communicated to the market. So it really looks like a affordability question that we bump into, because I've been
Yeah, and to step in there on the affordability, because like you're completely on
yeah,
point
to
there.
finalize this
Um,
thing case.
yeah, perfect.
One more second.
Don't break him up, Kees. He's in his rant.
No, this is the final part of it. I've been I was thinking this morning, like, what would be the most important metric for Tesla, and for my from my point of view, that is market share compared to the ICE vehicles in the market. So
Yeah,
if you look back 5 years ago, Tesla had a market share of 0.64%, and year after it was 1.21%. But now, since 2023, it's already stagnating at 2.3, 2.4%. So Tesla, for over the last 2, 3 years, has not been able to increase their total market share compared to ICE. So Tesla seems to hit a sort of glass ceiling at this moment, to take on more market share compared to the ICE vehicles that are being produced. And that's a logical thing, because ICE can do a lot more to make affordable models, because the technology is already around for 100 years, and Tesla still need to pull a lot of levers to make that happen.
Yeah, so I think on the affordability, it's actually better, the EVs, but it's less known, I would say. Also, ICE is not pushing anymore on EVs because they don't earn any money on it, so they want to keep their dying business alive. And those models in general are cheaper. Other than that, I think if you look at cheaper models, the Chinese are winning on all fields, basically. Everything below 30K is only Chinese, which makes sense to buy. There are some things you can buy that are not directly Chinese, but most of it is Chinese. So they're also taking a big market share from let's say the EV space. But the biggest driver, left or right, and we did a deep dive on it, I think together, even Damian, is still price points. So
Mhm.
people just don't buy a car above 25, 30K, so it needs to be less. I think that will exponentially increase the TAM of Tesla. And I think if they can do it with quality and the dollar versus quality metrics they have on the Model Y, they can grab quite a bit of market share, but it needs to come there. And also still my surrounding, like I'm now on vacation here in Austria, and I came here by ice car of my girlfriend because she said like, yeah, you need to charge, and but she's right because if we drive in one day, it's much quicker with an ice car, you know. And actually, Damien bought us
yeah, 45 minutes,
times four or
45
five times.
minutes
Eh?
on. No, no, no. Like the total trip would be like 45, maybe 60 minutes more on like a nine to
No,
10 hour
it's
drive.
three and a half. I've done it.
Then you're charging too much,
I've
man.
done it. No, I've done it. It charges from 20% to 80%, and then you can go again. Maybe because I had a 2019 model, but it still needs to get there. So the infrastructure, in my opinion, is not yet ready to be as let's say easy as ice to drive really long distances.
Mhm.
But then it's more the range and not necessarily the infrastructure, right? Because like the amount of superchargers on the way there
That's
is
correct. That's
perfect.
correct.
Like
With infrastructure, I mean like the batteries, the range, and then also how quickly it
yeah, yeah,
charges.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you can
Got
charge
you.
in 5 minutes and you get 500 kilometers, yeah, sure, it's the same as ice. But as long as that's not the
Yeah,
case, you're quicker with a ice vehicle. But my biggest takeaway of yesterday was actually that Elon said, and I'm keen to get your takes on it as well. Yeah, so this is the table with the market share.
Yeah. So BEV market share is declining, and total market share is sort of stagnating. And these numbers are go up to 2024, but they will probably be unchanged until in 25. They were probably in line with the current trend that we are seeing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. But my biggest takeaway of the whole call was the following: was that Elon said by the end of this year, we believe that half of U.S. Citizens, so half of the U.S., will have access to a robotaxi.
yeah. That's insane, right? That's
Yeah,
really
but
bullish. And also about like
the underlying
the growth.
question is it Elon being Elon, or is it really something that's achievable? Because as of now, I don't see that happen because that's like 5 months away.
Was
It
it
is,
25
but
or
like I had
26? Because there were some. It was not fully clear if they talked about end of this year.
And end of the year they said.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it was end of 25. So might
must be this
misunderstood, but
one.
okay. But let's
But
say
yes,
it's
still like
end
50,
of next year. I think it's very steep.
it's still a very bullish figure. Like 50% of the US, that's a lot of people in a lot of cities. So um, I honestly have my doubts regarding that as well, Kenny. But I met up with Phil Beisel, and we need to invite him again sometime soon in the podcast. But my understanding has always been like with validation vehicles, that it's there to like for roadblocks and like roadworks and stuff like that. But um, he compared it to like what in the coding industry what people do with code testing. You can do like 95% code testing of all the lines, but you can then also still have like 5% not covered. And what they are doing is just taking the very safe approach as they should and cover all the like back up the measurements that they need to do. So FSD is already capable of doing it and making super good estimations and simulations of like all the driving scenarios, but they need to double check it with the validation vehicles. And I've been seeing more and more of those validation vehicles also in the Bay Area, in smaller cities, towns, and counties outside of San Francisco. So I'm not having doubts in terms of the capabilities. And if we're not only talking about robotaxis, but privately owned vehicles being able to be put on the network, then that 50% figure can be in reach, because like they're driving all over the country. So if you take a look at it from that perspective, it might make sense. But still, 50% is a really high number. So I must agree with you on that one, Kenny. Um, but that would be a major achievement. And if then at the end of the year they can release the lower cost version of the Model Y, the smaller Model Y, increase the TAM both in Europe and in the US, perhaps in the inner city areas and in Asia as well, then those figures that they've released now in the earnings call might go up again. Then you have growth and
Oh,
margins.
100%, because those margins will be very high. But I quickly did a fact check on myself as well. So Elon, in that sense, he did say that by the end of the year, he expects half the population of the US, pending regulatory approval, to be able to get on an autonomous ride hailing for a Tesla robotaxi. So I asked AI as well, like, all right, but how many cars is that? So it estimates that at least it should be a million to 1.5 million robotaxis on the road, which I doubt, but let's see. But it might be something where, because that's also what they mentioned yesterday, is that they will start um, to open up the network for third parties.
Yeah.
And then it can, because there's many millions of cars on the roads already in the cities. So
And did they have a timeline on that one, the opening up?
I think they wanted to start the testing, but not sure on the timing. Might be like, if you would ask me now, I would say next couple of months.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there are a couple of things that very important, because from my point of view, Tesla has many besides besides introducing affordable models. From my point of view, Tesla has a lot of growth levers that they can pull. So, for example, they shared the fact that 50% of the Tesla drivers is still unaware of full self driving. And we talked about this in the podcast quite a lot. That was also our experience when we visited Austin, that from all the Tesla drivers we spoke to, nobody was aware of this FSD capability. While it's very easy for Tesla to push this thing because they have a giant screen, in front of every driver, and it's just a matter of making a good push notification before you start your car, giving people trials. So from my point of view, and this is not rocket science, this is something also within the company they can easily execute upon. But that is something that Tesla apparently purposefully has not been pushing too aggressive. Um, so that said, on the one hand, you could educate people more on FSD, but the biggest driver, of course, and I think this is also an interesting twilight zone that we're currently in, is that FSD at a certain point will be able to make you a lot of money if you can put it on the fleet. But in order to do that, you need to buy full self driving. So it's a bit of sort of chicken and the egg discussion, because then if you are you going to buy FSD first, or are you going to wait till you can put it or add it to the fleet? And Tesla could have a very easy growth driver if they make just FSD more affordable, because FSD is currently very expensive, right? So FSD currently still costs 10,000 plus dollars, which is a lot of money. And if they could structure that in a sort of monthly fee of, let's say, $50 or something in that realm, then obviously a lot of people will, start taking it. So
There's also a lot of room for incentives. So if you like, they have a look at the data, and if you like, for instance, have never used FSD, you can always also incentivize it by giving out, like say, hey, you've just driven your first 500 miles on FSD, you get free supercharging for a month, or we give you a month of free FSD for stuff like that. Would also help
yeah,
greatly.
so the full focus, most of the time with Tesla, is just improving the technology, and everybody in the company is relentlessly focused on that. But you have a certain adaptation curve that you need to stimulate at a certain point. And Tesla had some challenges to break through that roof in terms of market share with the current cars, because if you do the calculations, buying a Model Y is actually almost as affordable as a Toyota Chevy, I think, or something in that realm, if you compare cost of ownership over a period of 5 years. And that is apparently something you need to communicate very aggressively over and over again in order to make people, make that buying decision. But also for FSD, uh, if Tesla drivers are not aware of FSD, 50% is not aware of that, then probably just 10% or maybe 20% is aware of the cybercab and robotaxis and their ability to make money out of their car in the near future. So there's a huge opportunity there. And also Elon mentioned, like, okay, it was nice to hear that for Europe, everything exactly like you said, Kees, will be approved in the Netherlands and then rolled out in Europe. So the value proposition of a Tesla in Europe over the coming, let's say, year will increase massively by the add of FSD. And there are many, many people in Europe that has already purchased FSD, like myself, that have suddenly that capability on their car, and that just makes it more attractive to people as well. So I think my yeah my I of course I don't have all the data of which they can base their decisions on, but a sort of easy growth driver for Tesla can be to have full self driving at an affordable price, because it's one adds to the margin, and B adds to the value proposition, thus growth of the overall sales of their brand. And if you think about it, if you have a more affordable model being introduced with affordable full self-driving FSD, yeah, that's a sort of game set and match that they can have to easily double their capacity in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think now it's in the US $99, right, Case, per month.
You ask me a
Yeah,
question?
so it's
You
$99 per
oh
month, right? FSD in the US.
yeah, the subscription base, yeah, and the purchase price is I think 8,500
Yeah,
right now,
so
or eight
and in the
thousand.
Netherlands, it's like seven and a half thousand euros to add to your car.
Yeah,
Case, you and I, we both didn't add it because it doesn't add a lot of value and it's quite expensive. There is no subscription here in the
exactly.
Netherlands you can take on, but those numbers, I was actually thinking about it yesterday as well because I'm working quite a bit with AI and I'm trying out like what can I use better. I sent some stuff to you guys as well, but like the subscriptions are like 300 euros. Like I'm fine, but to like test it out. But how many people can really like pay 300 euros a month for an AI? Same for FSD.
For Grok
It's
Heavy,
ve-
yeah,
it's very expensive.
it's the yeah, yeah. I wouldn't see like how to justify that cost on a monthly basis for something like Grok. Like the limit for my AI expenses would
Yeah,
be 30, 50
or they
bucks a
can
month,
say, all right,
maybe
every
max.
time you use it, you pay a dollar, or you pay I don't know. What is it, $10 for a premium subscription, same
Yeah.
as that they do with Amazon Prime, and then for every mile you pay 30 cents, like those kind of things. And now it's like one lump sum a
Yeah.
month, or like to buy it at once. It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Like no
Yeah,
software is.
I think the mind of Tesla is fully at the deployment of robotaxi, because even those FSD numbers will be pale to the revenues that are will make on the robotaxi. So that and there's a certain, probably internally they have a certain curve of the rollout of the robotaxi, and you could plot that against the price of FSD and the take-up rate of that FSD. And yeah, apparently they're not pushing too much towards FSD at this point, because their eyes are on the robotaxi. But not sure what they will do with that. But it's at least very interesting, to see those kind of levers, because at a certain point you also need to think about production capacity, because if you have the Cybertruck, for example, if you sell it in this amount of numbers, it's not a profit center for Tesla, because they need to sell a lot more to make it profitable, right? And same counts for all the other lines that you then have. If you could have your production shift being up and running for 3 shifts, then obviously it's way more cost effective also in all the machines that you deploy in that sense. So in that sense, scale has a lot of benefits for Tesla, but there are probably like 50 to 100 variables, that they that they need to pull to come to a sort of ideal situation in any given market segment.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's see. I think again, if they all solve the whole robotaxi thing, it would be great. There's a lot of regulatory stuff pending, so also keen to see how that goes and the rollout of robotaxi. But in the meantime, yeah, we have to see how it all unfolds. Like in hindsight, looking at stuff like they solved FSD as far as like really users can tell, it's just a matter of time and rollout, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens, but in my opinion, it will take still some time before it really kicks in. There are some things, other things that I think in the business are going pretty well. So it's the mega pack business, which is growing sequentially very quickly, very good margins, 30%. The energy market is really, really big. And with the whole AI wave, it's going to be very, very important. And in the meantime, they still have the semis that are coming up, lower cost models. I'm actually very bullish on how they solved like the whole Model Y limousine thing. It just made me think, like, if you think about the Model Y, it's like a very, very good car. So I have it. I'm super happy with it. Dollar for dollar, it's great. It's the best I think you can buy. Um, and they make profits on it, as far as I know. But if they do that for a smaller vehicle and it's getting less, like 30 or 25K, and it still has that build quality or that drive quality, obviously it will be less big, etc. But then I'm sure they can grow again. I'm not too
That will double the output, no doubt. That will double the output because there's so much demand for a smaller vehicle, but also for maybe a little more all-purpose vehicle or a more off-roading vehicle. So if you iterate on that
I think
model,
they have
I
to.
think you can attract a lot
Yeah, I think they
larger.
have that with the Cybertruck. I think they're like with this whole Model Y limousine. My thoughts are going like this. They're gonna have a couple of models, like two or three maybe, and that's gonna be the basis for everything. So it will be a smaller Model Y or something, smaller off-road vehicle with the Cybertruck. So I think they're gonna leverage the current
Yeah,
platforms to make it as efficient as possible.
Yeah, yeah, and to add to that, Kenny, also the larger Model Y was not really announced; it suddenly was there, right? So this is also an approach that Tesla is taking more and more, to just come up with things that are suddenly ready. And that was also interesting because they already started the manufacturing of the more affordable model while it's not presented yet. So the first ones are already manufactured. That was very good news. And of course, this quarter the regulatory credits will,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So
It's the last quarter for the regulatory credit, so it doesn't make any sense to sell them right now in the US, at least.
no, and that's actually a very good news
no,
for the
no.
fourth quarter, that are sort of hoarding cars this quarter, before they will announce it. So the next quarter, a lot of people will make use of the regulatory credits because it's the last month, or last quarter that they can do that. But after that, a more affordable model can already be shipped and delivered. So that is also going to to spike sales a little bit.
Let's see,
Um,
because the only thing, like, I'm not afraid of, but if it will be a car that's like a stripped down Model Y for 35, 40K, I don't think it will grow the TAM as much as you would like to see with a new vehicle that's 25,
It
30K.
would be less. It
Yeah.
would be less
yeah,
than that,
yeah,
the amount.
So
yeah.
let's
But
see.
that's interesting. So in the meanwhile, energy, you touch upon that, Kenny. Yeah, that is of course a great development, because also Shanghai is not in volume production yet, and the new factory that has been announced in the US is in construction. so they will have a lot more volume. But Elon made a very important remark there. By just adding batteries, they could already double the energy
I saw,
supply
yeah,
of the US.
that's
So
insane.
yeah, so Tesla is of enormous strategic and sort of geopolitical value for the US. Not sure if that is being seen by the current administration, because they became quite hostile about Elon and his companies in recent press conferences that they have. Somehow Elon just first we had the
Pushed clear.
Biden administration, and now we have the Trump administration not mentioning Elon's companies with AI development. So that's a uh, interesting thing to see. But that is a side note. But that, of course, and the enormous growth of AI energy demand that is being created. Yeah, Tesla energy for the foreseeable future will grow very rapidly. And I was just thinking about, okay, we had a situation where like the factory in Mexico was being postponed, further expansion of the Giga Texas was being sort of held back. Same for Berlin, although they're ramping that up again. But for me, that felt like a lot like Tesla, as being mentioned in earlier calls, was actually battery constrained. So what's the point of ramping up factories and burning a lot of money if you don't have the batteries to to ramp that up? And now they're up to speed with the megapack, so all the excess batteries will be deployed at the point. But the abundance of batteries is also not far away. If you would ask me, it's probably within 1 or 2 years that battery production will also be in abundance. And
Can
also
you
there,
remember?
it's in a bit of a twilight zone.
Can you remember the last quarterly call, Damian? They actually said that the bottleneck was still batteries,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
came as quite a surprise. So it's obvious that they're working on it, and they have it vertically integrated with the whole lithium refinery as well. So there
yeah.
should be cost advantages there.
Yeah, but Tesla always takes a lot of risks also in their investment, and they invest as aggressively as possible. And now, for the first time in the call, was being mentioned that they're prudent for their growth. And
It's that's already a couple of times mentioned because they said it already one and a half 2 years ago that they're prudent with their investments also in new factories. So
yeah,
they just want to make sure that the current factories are utilized as much as possible.
yeah, as much as possible. But then you also, of course, need the batteries. And I think in that sort of buffer zone that Tesla had, they could all focus as much as possible on FSD and cybercaps. But those kind of information, I always found it a bit of a pity that we don't get more details on those, like real bottlenecks of the company during those investors calls, right? So the CFO was barely understandable. Is there was very difficult to listen to, and also not always the questions are of quality. And Elon is always many years already ahead. So that always feels like, as a shareholder, you're sort of navigating through the fog that is there.
That is created. Yeah, I think so. I agree with your points there. On the one hand, I must say that Elon normally is like, he's on Mars, like in some calls, and I think he's less of that. But the thing I really missed during the call again is really like valid touch points. Like how many cars, how quickly do we expand, and they're like, no, we're gonna 10x the area in Austin. Yeah, maybe we're gonna 8x. No, we're gonna 10x. Okay, yeah, and then maybe we're gonna be the most valuable company. Like, just don't say it. Just give more tangible stuff. How are you gonna do the rollout? How many cars? How many cities? How do you look at it? Like more business wise instead of high flying. and just shouting some numbers. But
Yeah, and yeah, it's always because you can say like, well, pending on regulatory approval, but you can show a little bit of your roadmap that you there have, right? But
yeah,
but it feels also like a strategy that touched upon that for talent attraction as well with the AI day. And apparently Tesla's being spied on so relentlessly um, over the last couple of years, and the AI war is so intense that they need to be very cautious in what they're saying, and it's sort of their strategy now seems to be like just expand subtly and taking territory and not making everybody wiser than they need to be. That can be frustrating for shareholders, of course, because they want to have that. But it's also
it
not
makes
something.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah, it's also not something that they do for like in the past they had like big institutional shareholders that get factory tours and everything being told about the state of the technology, etc. But that is not something Tesla needs anymore. So then they rather keep their cards on their
on the chest.
chest. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think looking at it from a big picture and just trying to find a way through the fog, there's a couple of theses or bets we're making as a shareholder, of which one is they have the best EV, and we use it. They solved FSD, which we've tested ourselves and also
Yeah.
do quite a bit of research on. We believe they can bring it to scale, so I think we can say that we believe that. So that's on the FSD part. They're in the right stuff. So they're in energy, they're in humanoids, they're in AI. So that network makes a lot of sense. And I think on top of it, looking for example on humanoids, all the big brains, everyone is mentioning that this is going to be the largest market. Where I think they're also striving to becoming the number one, and they're making a lot of efforts to really become also the number one. And they gave some insights there that are on the version 2.5, and it roughly takes 3 iterations to come to a production model. I do think it's still way in the future. So I think it's at least 5 years down the road before humanoid gets anything tangible. And before that, FSD I think will be, let's say, in
Well,
contained areas really really big. But the bet there
yesterday
is that
was
it's something later.
yesterday was announced that in 5 year they expect to be on a production rate of at least 1 million. So they're going to scale those humanoids as fast as humanly possible. And
Yeah.
I've been buying robots this week. I have not told you about this, but I bought 3 robots, 2 cleaning robots, and one grass mowing robot, just to see how good they are, because I bought one 5 or 10 years ago, and it was bumping against everything and was just not a very sophisticated machine. And
But you
now,
bought those Roombas that did like
yeah,
those
it's called
close and
Dreamy,
things.
a variant on that Roomba. So I think
Okay.
it's a Chinese brand that I bought.
I thought
But
you bought a robot with like arms and legs and stuff, but
no, no, no. I wish I could do that,
I
but
think they're for sale. So maybe you
yeah,
should try and get one.
if you look at the current development of AI, if you look at the current development of vision, let's say Tesla Vision and thus Optimus Vision, and if you look at already version 2 of that Optimus, well, extrapolate that to version 3, they release some information about the abilities of the hand, which makes a giant leap of much more actuators working together and making that hand more smooth. So um, that Optimus is already probably better capable of being able to mow my lawn instead of that machine that I currently have, because it's very limited in what it can do.
Well, that
Um,
that that, that could be, but I think also listening to Elon and Chris Camillo, which I follow very closely, who's invested in like the Apptronics and all the big companies, Figure AI, etc. So the problem there still is that the hardware is also not there yet. Like it looks like we have the hardware, we have those hands, they're becoming more sophisticated. Actuators are being built by Tesla, but you have to imagine it's the first time we're building, let's say, a human in robot form. So
Yeah.
those actuators actually break down quite a lot, and you cannot like it's the same as bringing an EV on the market, let's say 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 25 years ago. Like the battery is not there yet, it's not smooth, you need all the maintenance, infrastructure is not there. I think we're very early stage. So
Mhm.
yes, we can see it. We can see how it works. We can see Tesla becoming a very big producer of those humanoids. But in my opinion, it's still very far away. Like there could be a huge announcement, and Tesla might use it in their factories maybe next year already, or they already do. But I mean, let's say at scale. But before it gets commercial, etc., I think we'll be away at least 3 years, in my opinion.
Well, let's make a side bet on that one, because they announced to scale it as fast as humanly possible. That was what they said. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one, of course, when they can add that to the product suite and the capability suite. I do think Florian is always on the 7 billion miles, right? So they touched the 5 billion, and that curve is growing faster and faster. So they will probably get there this quarter. There probably will also be those kind of metrics for the Optimus bot. And on the one end, it's the hardware, exactly like you say. So you have the hardware capabilities that you then have, but also there where we don't know everything what is going on. So, for example, with the Cybertruck, they announced extra batteries that you could put in your bag, and a camper tent, etc. All sorts of add-ons. You could easily think about sort of add-ons that you can buy for your Optimus bot, like a sort of cleaning kit, or other sorts of add-ons that Optimus is already being trained on. So there are many variables there that can help accelerate that sort of adoption. And I think yeah, that is going to be a very big surprise. That version 3, like the people that have been visiting Elon in this factory with the Optimus bot, are very impressed by it. But like you said, it also needs to be like bulletproof, right? So you don't want to have it for maintenance every week, or parts breaking apart or whatever. There's that. But that's sort of extra, yeah, sort of in my calculations that I'm making for Tesla. I'm not making much assumptions for Optimus until I see it in use. So robotaxis are, I think, very tangible. They're
Yeah,
driving around. Um,
energy.
Energy is doing great, and there are many levers that they can pull for growth for the car. So I think the business there is in a good place. But what we also and Elon is uniquely positioned for that, to know stuff about it, is that he also can see where the AI is advancing towards, and that will, of course, increase the capabilities of Optimus also by 2 or 3 or 5 fold, right?
Mhm.
So if you look at AI where it is now compared to, let's say, a year ago, it has been improving like crazy, right? You can do so much more with AI now than a year ago. A year from now, that has probably been doubling at this point. And therefore also the capabilities of Optimus will start to increase.
Increase. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tesla is going to need, or Optimus is going to need, also a lot of training data, real world training data, because at a certain point he will be limited by the models that has been feeded. So he needs to start making reps, as we call it in the gym, right? So that is going to be very important for the training part. But let's say Tesla will, as earlier guidance, manufacture 5 to 10,000 bots this year. That is still the aim. Those bots will probably be used as training that they then can have, and sort of
Mhm.
that second wave will be, yeah, for users in factories. And I think we will going to see a lot of similarities between the semi rollout and the Optimus rollout. So probably in the beginning it will be companies that can buy that Optimus for certain yeah, warehousing task or manufacturing task and those kind of jobs. And then the sort of the larger scale will be used for consumer products.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on the rollout. I just think it's further away, as you say. Needs to be trained. Hardware is not there yet. I think
Yeah,
software is far from
yeah, but
done.
let's if you think about the role as a waiter, so order food and food being delivered to the customer. That's a step to the Tesla restaurant that is being rolled out, which was received very yeah, very positively as well.
It
And
the only thing is it won't add to the bottom line. It does compound on the brand, but
Yes, it's not a very bottom line thing in the world, especially when the world of robotaxis and cybercab. What many people don't know is, for example, for Shell, one of the big drivers is the cups of coffee that they sell. So Shell is actually the second largest coffee seller in the world because many people drink coffees on their gas stations. So and Tesla is already like real estate of high traffic areas. That in combination with robotics and Optimus bots can be a
sure.
very attractive proposition. Just have a coffee machine and a small venue where you can order some sandwiches and so, and having one or two Optimus bots operating that thing.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I would want to go to a diner. So I think it's now open for the public. So would be nice to go there one day. I think it's in LA. So we
I will
might.
treat you. I will treat you on a burger, Kenny. So
Nice on the burger.
yeah, yeah,
It's not blueprint ready. I do have your jacket here, so I'm actually in the mountains here with the next level human gear. So
very good, very good.
trying to get you some customers.
Yeah, well, let's see how how it develops. In short term, for the Tesla shareholders, it's butt squeezing time again, but in the long
Yeah,
run,
just
we remain
I
optimistic.
eyes on the prize. Just follow the rollout of Robotaxi, which is important. Follow FSD updates, which are important. Going the right way. Follow energy. And I think the light point on the car stuff is that there's still a lot of leeway. So we're still only at 2.3% of the market, right? So it's very small. So there's still a lot to gain there. So that's the upside. And from let's say economical point of view, let's say macroeconomic, all the brands are struggling. So can it get worse? Yes, definitely. Can it get better? Yes, definitely. So it could also that if there's gonna be a bit more tailwind there, it will be giving some leeway to the current business and improve profits. But I think all in all, like looking at the valuation, you're betting on Robotaxi, right? It's not the car. It's gonna add, so it's important, and I think they have a mode there which they can let's say widen. But other than that, it's all about AI, robotics, FSD. So eyes on the price, and then indeed, like this quarter can be, let's say, stuck between somewhere 200 and 400, like where we've been. I don't see it breaking out. But on the other hand, if the Model Q comes and they're suddenly in five more cities, like strange things can happen. So let's see.
Yeah,
Exciting times.
exciting
We're
times.
always being tested, Damian. It would be silly if we're not. So,
No, of course. All
all
right,
right.
Kenny. Thanks, and talk to you next week.
Yes. Cheers.